what's good? What's poppin'? I still don't have intro, so like I guess I'm just gonna start with that until I have one. But anyway, today I am going to do a video about my mental health journey, and yeah, just pretty much tell you my whole journey, just my story with my mental health up until now, and that's what I'm going to do today. But first, in my last video, I talked about how I didn't want to quit smoking. I really didn't care about it, but, look, it's just, let's be honest, like, I've been thinking, and I'm so tired of not taking care of myself. I'm so tired. I'm not saying had an epiphany or anything, but I'm tired of the way it makes me feel. I don't like smoking necessarily. Like, I enjoy it, but I don't. Like, I hate that I do it. And, I guess my first step to, like, bettering myself, because I always talk shit about myself, how much I hate myself, but I don't do anything to change it. So, like, this is my first step. I'm gonna quit smoking. Also another reason is because I'm an organ donor, and I was thinking about it, and I felt shitty because, smoking doesn't necessarily not qualify, like, disqualify you from being an organ donor, but obviously, if I smoke, my lungs, you know, for however long, my lungs are not going to be viable to, you know, maybe go into a smoker's, body, or, you know, whatever. So, I don't know, I was thinking about that, and I felt really shitty, so that was really my, like, main motivation, but also, like, I'm tired of, like, saying that I feel shitty about myself and not doing anything about it. So, on camera, hold me to it, I'm doing it. I got these patches a while ago. I just never used them. They are not expired or anything. And, so, here's my nicotine patch, and I'm gonna do it. So, I'm gonna put this on real quick. Do not open pouch until ready to use. Okay, anyway. So, oh, you're supposed to cut this. I don't have scissors. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to do that while I'm on here. But anyway, so my mental health journey, I'm not, like, don't, like, get distracted by me doing this. I'm just trying to figure this shit out without having scissors. Anyway, so my mental health journey started when I was very young. Well, to some people might not be young, but it is for, like, mental health, because I just want to start this off by saying, like, with mental health, you're not supposed to diagnose the majority of the disorders that I have until you are at least 18, because, you know, they could just be behavioral issues or something like that, but I was diagnosed very young because my doctor felt that, it was not a stage, and it, like, some of the things ran in my family, and she thought it was a serious thing. So just to preface that, it's not like a misdiagnosis or anything. I still have these things. It was just that severe. So I moved around a lot and everything, but, like, I mean, I didn't really have any, like, traumatic things happen to me. Yeah, I moved around a lot, but that's literally it. So it wasn't like it could have been attested that. It was just, I had what I had. So, I had issues, very young. Like, you know, when I started school, I was hitting other kids, I was bullying, and I just had very bad anger problems and everything, and it was just not very good, to say the least. And, so we had these problems, and since I was very, very young, finally, when I was 13, my family decided that, maybe I should go to a psychiatrist and see, or, you know, a therapist or something, and just see a professional and see, like, if something more is going on than we realized. So when I was 13, I went to this doctor in Lebanon, Tennessee, and she's really great. I had her as a doctor for years. I'm now 20, and she literally just, like, now retired. But anyway, she, when I was 13, I started going to her, and she found out that I had some issues. She put me on some medication, and that's pretty much how it started. Actually, I didn't go in Lebanon, Tennessee. Wow, it wasn't even 13. 13 was, like, when I started, like, getting serious. Like, I was actually diagnosed. Like, I did, like, a whole, like, workup, like, I don't know, a psych evaluation, I guess it was. But, like, I totally skipped the whole thing. I'm sorry. So, when I was, like, 11 or 12, it's, like, when it kind of, like, actually started. But I went to a doctor and, like, I went to a therapist and, like, they prescribed me medication, but it wasn't, like, I didn't have, like, a diagnosis. It was just, they just gave me medicine. As far as I know today, I didn't have a diagnosis at that point in time. So they gave me medicine. It didn't work out. That was in Kentucky. And I went to therapy and it was just, it wasn't great. So when I was 13, I moved to, when I was 12, I moved to Tennessee. When I was 13, I got a psych evaluation, and they found out that I had bipolar, manic depressive bipolar type 2, I believe, which I think it's type 2, and borderline personality disorder, oppositional defiance disorder, anxiety, and ADD. So, those were my things, and I actually didn't know about borderline personality disorder till I got older because my doctor advised for them not to tell me. They didn't even tell me about anxiety. They really just told me about bipolar, and it was just, my doctor didn't just advise and not to maybe tell me, because when you're that young and the way that I acted when I was very young, that could be impressionable and it could make my symptoms actually get worse. And I was already a terror anyway. So, got a psych eval, got put on medication, fiddled around, and that's how that went. So that's like 13 is like the age where it was like all really coming to light and everything. So, like I said in the beginning of this video, they're not supposed to diagnose you under 18 with any of those disorders, actually, like, maybe ADD, but, like, not bipolar, BPD, none of that. So, and especially not ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, because it could just be a phase, but it was serious enough that they did. What kind of got me there was, like I said, to go in more in depth, I was a bully. I was angry all the time. I had major mood swings. I acted like a child that had been abused its entire life, or his or her entire life, and that I went through some traumatic experience, like I watched my parents die or something, but I just, like I said, I didn't really go through anything. I mean, I moved around a lot, but that was really it. There's no reason for me to be that way. And I was a terror. I was a good kid. Like, I didn't sneak out, I didn't do drugs, not at this point in time, none of that. And I was just an angry, depressed kid. And, like, when I was 13, I was in middle school, and I remember it was crazy because, I didn't understand what was going on. I knew I needed to take medicine, and I had an anger problem, basically. And that's like really it. Like, I didn't know much about it. Because, like, and I didn't know if I was going to put this in here because it was like, it's kind of hard to explain. But, also when I lived in Bowling Green, kind of a jump start. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it's like, this is the same time frame. When I was in Bowling Green, when I was 11 and 12, I did go to a crisis stabilization unit. It's a children's crisis stabilization. It's called CCSU. And I went there, because I was just an angry kid. Like, it was ridiculous how angry I was. And I just thought I needed anger management. And I guess that is part of my mental health journey. I went there, I think, a total of 6 times, ended up going into therapeutic foster care to try and help me. And, like, my family just a disclaimer, my family did not want to do any of this. They just but they thought it was what was best for me, and they just tried to help me the best they can. But anyway, and I didn't really want to put that in there because it didn't really help me, because literally the stabilization is basically a group home or a residential facility, and I don't think it benefited me. Really, they treat you like you're just, I don't know, I guess they should treat you like a normal kid, but it was just, you played video games. There was not any intense therapy going on, nothing. I went to a therapist once a day and or once a week or something regularly, and it just, she didn't really talk to me about anything. She told me that I had anger problems and that I should do anger management. That's literally it. And we did arts and crafts and played video games, watched TV, and went to bed and did chores. It was not significant to my mental health journey, but I'll put that in there anyway because I did go to that. And yes, residential homes, group homes, stabilization units help some kids, but it just didn't help me because they just looked at me as some normal kid. They didn't think that I had anything wrong with me, I guess you could say. So they just was oh, parents are away, type thing, but that wasn't the case at all. So anyway, back to when I lived in Tennessee and I got diagnosed, had all this psych evaluation and everything. So that happened, like I said, angry all the time, all that. So when I was 13, whenever all this was going on, 13, 14, I was in middle school. 8th grade, so I guess I might have been 13, 14 range, and I was in 8th grade, and I had some friends that I looked up to, I guess. I don't know, I wanted to be like them. They were the emo scene people. I really liked emo scene music. I just didn't dress that way or anything like that, but I really liked music. I really liked the culture, I guess you could say. But I ended up finding out that one of the people, well, a couple of the people actually, but specifically one of them, was cutting themselves. And, I probably should have put at the beginning of this video, it might be a trigger warning. I'm sorry, I should have put that. I do talk about suicide attempts and cutting and stuff, so if you don't like that, please, if that might trigger you, just please, click off. I'm sorry I didn't say that at the beginning of this video, but anyway, they were cutting themselves, and, I don't know, I guess I thought it was cool. I thought it was a thing that you do. That just shows how twisted my mind really was, because, for somebody who doesn't have mental illness or depression or anything, that's not, normal. They're oh my gosh, I need help, type thing, and, but to me, it was cool. It was, I guess not cool, I was interested in it. I wouldn't say cool, because cutting is not cool, but at that time, for some reason, my twisted mind thought it was a normal thing, and I was interested in it. I don't know why, I can't really tell you to this day why I was interested in it. And so I ended up cutting. And I hate talking about this because it's really hard for me to talk about, but I ended up cutting, and it was not because, at first it was, I'm gonna be honest, at first it was not because, solely because of a idea in my head, and I thought, it was for, emotional reasons. It was just because I wanted to be like them. When I first started cutting, I, actually, it was for attention. It was not for, it was just for that. But then I started cutting, and I was very depressed at this time, let me tell you. I was writing journal entries about, wanting to die, and, it was a very dark period. So that's just a little thing to put in there. And when I did start cutting, the first cut, I realized that, my pain, my emotional pain, went away. Because I was thinking about that pain. And, it's weird. I was just thinking about the act. I was thinking about that pain, and my emotional pain went away. Like, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't thinking about that. And for so long, like, I honestly, and this is, I'm not saying this to, like, get pity or something. I'm trying to be as upfront and honest as I can. I can't really remember a time in my life where I was just, at this point, genuinely happy. Like, I didn't have, like, memories as a kid that I was just so, like, happy all the time, and oh my gosh, you know, I didn't have that. And it's not because I didn't grow up in an amazing family. I did. I just had these illnesses, and it's hard. So whatever, and I just always thought about these things. I was always depressed. I was always like my mind was so twisted, I guess you could say. It was so dark. There was no light. And I just always thought about these things because of my depression, because of my anxiety. It was a mess. And, so when I did cut myself for the first time, it was like a miracle to me that my mind got off these things. So I ended up cutting more and more, and I have scars from it still to this day. That was 7 years ago that I started, and, I still have scars. I have tattoos over them. That's the majority of the reason why I got them tattoos on my arms, because I just didn't, I didn't want to look at them anymore. So, and I'll explain that later too. But anyway, so it became a thing, and my arms, like, I didn't do deep cuts. I did not do any of that. There's some people that were way worse with the cutting situation than I was. Mine were more superficial. They were not deep. I mean, they were kind of deep, but, like, it wasn't, like, it wasn't the worst case. We'll just say that. And it wasn't the best case either. Anyway, and I had them all up and down my arms, and I would wear long sleeves all the time. I was a kid that I was cold all the time. Even in the summer, I would always wear jackets, so it was normal for me to wear jackets in the summer and long sleeves. Like, no one thought any different about it. So, I just cut my arms to start with, and, here you go. So, how my family found out was one day I went to the doctor for a physical or something, and my sister was in there with me, because I was living with my sister, my oldest sister at the time. And, the doctor, was like, take off your clothes or something, and I was like, can you step out, to my sister? And she's like, why? And she thought that was weird, because even though I've always been, at that time, I was very modest. I did not like any skin showing. I never asked her to do that, and she just thought it was really weird, and she just had a bad feeling about it, and she's like, no, I'll stay in here, like, it's fine, like, you're my sister, it's fine. So I ended up taking my clothes off, and she saw the cuts, and they were pretty bad. They were all on my forearm, this area, all, like, very close together, just pretty bad, and on both arms. And she was mortified. And, of course, I cried, and it was very hard, because I guess I was embarrassed, but I was more, like, ashamed. Well, I guess that's the same thing, but I was more, like, I was embarrassed, but, like, it was more, I guess it was embarrassment. It wasn't, like, I wasn't really mad. Embarrassment turned to anger, okay? So it was embarrassment at first, because I was so ashamed that she saw this, and I just thought I was a terrible person, because the look on her face, she just looked so broken, and that embarrassed me, because I was like, oh my gosh, should I do this to her? And it turned into sadness, which turned into anger, which is what most of my emotions turn into, and, it got really bad, and she, like, my sister also suffered from some mental illnesses that I will not say, because that's not my business. So it was just hard for her seeing that, because I guess she knew where I was coming from, and she, because of her illness, it kind of turned into anger for her too, and she wasn't, like, mad at me, she was mad at herself, and she, like, was, like, not yelling, but it was just a big scene, and, it was just a mess. So, she took all my razors away, because, that's the first thing that a parent does, or, a authority figure, they take away your razors, but little did she know I could find ways to, cut else, like, otherwise. And then I ended up cutting, more. I don't remember what I got, but I think it was like a piece of glass. I really don't know. I found something, and I cut again on my thighs this time. I didn't cut my arms anymore. Well, I did, but like, I would make sure that it was just like, she was checking my arms for a while and stuff, so I didn't cut my arms, I cut my thighs. She ended up finding out about that, and it got progressively worse. And I had more, so I went into therapy and everything. I know this long video is already 20 minutes long, but I promise it's worth telling. So anyway, so I got into therapy, and I ended up starting high school, and my cutting subsided. So it subsided. Like, I wasn't doing it every day. I did do it still. I'm not gonna lie, I did. So there you go. That was kind of that was my 8th grade year. I didn't cut as much by the end of 8th grade year, but I still cut. I tried to be very smart about it, where she would start trusting me again, and then I would cut again, and there's times where she didn't find out. And it was no fault of her own, it was just, I played the game, I guess. And, also in 8th grade, I had my first boyfriend. And, he was crazy in of himself. And, we only dated a couple months, and I was really excited because I have an attachment issue. It's not a disorder or anything, but I do have an attachment issue where I latch on to people. Very clingy. I need to be with somebody. And, so I was with this guy, and we were together a couple months, and then, I got into trouble with him because he asked me to do things, and I did them. I'm not going to go into detail, but, I got into trouble with the school and got OSS, which is out of school suspension, so I didn't see him, for 2 or 3 weeks, before, Christmas break. And then Christmas break came around, and my sister was mad at me, his mom was mad at him, and it was just a big mess, so we didn't get to see each other. Finally we got to see each other right before Christmas or something, and he gave me a present, blah blah. That happened. So then I found out from my best friend at the time that he had asked her out while we were dating, and to me that's cheating. But she knew I was with him, this big thing, so we ended up breaking up, and in order to get him back, and I know this is awful, I don't condone this, I'm not like this anymore, this was just me at the time, this was my mental illness, this was me just trying everything in my power to be with him. And I ended up, this is kind of complicated because I had thought about suicide before, but I never did it. I didn't attempt it or whatever, and at this time, I was half serious about committing suicide and half not, and I told my best friend, I told him that I was going to commit suicide, and I was going to take a bunch of pills, and just all this stuff. It was half manipulation, but half it was probably 20% manipulation and 80% I really wanted to do it. But the 20% of me that didn't want to do it wanted somebody to help me. I just wanted that feeling of somebody caring. So I told a lot of people, I told them about it, and they ended up calling my sister. My sister found out, and she was upset because, again, she thought it was her fault when it wasn't. So, I'm trying to think. I think I went to, I had an emergency appointment or something with a doctor, and it was a big thing, and I ended up not attempting or anything like that. And I got a lot of things taken away, and it was just, there's that. That was my 8th grade year. Going on to freshman year, my anger got worse. It was depression, but it was like, instead of starting out as depressed, I was sad or something about something. I was just always angry. I mean, I was always depressed, but it was just always anger, mostly, about everything. I wasn't as sad. I was depressed, but it was more I was depressed in my mind is the best way to explain it. And then whenever, like, I talked to people, I was just angry. So I ended up fighting with my sister a lot. I was, very, not rebellious, but like, I smarted off. I didn't listen to her. I ended up getting grounded a lot, and it was a big mess. And she had told me about foster care, and I was like, oh, a way out. Lovely. So I did everything in my power to get in foster care. I pushed them away no matter how much they tried to help me. And so I ended up going into foster care. And which, whatever, I guess it's fine. Like, I don't regret it, but like, it was a mistake for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into that because that's not my mental health journey. But at this point in time, I had been on the same medication pretty much since I was 13. I was on, if you want me to be specific, I was on lithium, Celexa, Lamictal, and Invega. And then there was a few mixed in there, but those were the main ones that I was on, pretty much. And pretty much, I was like on maybe 2 or 3 others. But really, it was just those medicines, and they switched dosages. They just found that was like a good dosage or whatever. And I didn't take my medicine, so that also had a factor in why it didn't work as well. Anyway, I got into foster care. Well, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Freshman year, nothing really happened. I did cut myself, but, you know, it wasn't like as serious. Then sophomore year came around, and I got into foster care. Sorry that I kind of skipped that. Sophomore year, halfway through, I got into foster care because I just pushed for it, and finally my family was like, maybe they can help you. It was not because they were giving me up or anything like that. It was just because they were trying to help me, and they thought maybe they could help me. They didn't think, I haven't really talked to them about it, but I'm pretty sure they didn't think that I was going to go into a foster home. They maybe thought that I was going to go into a residential, which is an intense like therapy thing, that I wasn't going to be a level 2, which is just you get therapy once a week, and you're like, level 2 is like good kid, none of that like crazy stuff. I think they probably thought that I was going to go into residential and get intense therapy and intense help that I needed, but I ended up not getting that. So anyway, got into foster care, moved to Columbia, Tennessee, went to a high school there, started going to the Boys and Girls Club, you know, had therapy once a week, but the therapy wasn't really therapy, and it was just, I just stuffed down things. And whenever I did have outbursts, because I did not have self-control at the time, I would get into fights and things like that. I would cut, and my foster mom ended up taking away my razor blades, my nail polish bottles, like anything that I could use to cut with. Literally anything. Like, my room was pretty much bare because I ended up cutting myself. I actually have a scar. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah. That was probably my worst cut, which isn't even that bad. Well, it's not my worst cut, actually. But it's the one that left the deep scar. So, there's that. I ended up doing that cut, and it was just a mess. And, like, it just went on. I got into fights. I got into trouble all the time. I was in and out of ISS for skipping class. You know, that's really when I started to, like, act out. And it wasn't even a rebel phase. Like, I don't think if I had mental illness, I would have went through a rebel phase. And if I did, it wouldn't be, like, serious. I was a really good kid. I just the thoughts in my head were just, they overpowered me, and I did not know how to control them. And so got into fights, like I said, all that. My grades were dropping. I ended up having to go to credit recovery, all of this stuff. So it was pretty not okay. So I was there for 9 months in my first foster home, and then in October I went in there in January. So I guess it was 8 months. Well, maybe almost 9. I don't know, 8 or 9 months. And in October, I moved to Spring Hill, Tennessee, to a foster home, and which they are lovely people. They are Christians. They were amazing people, and they helped me more than anything, and I'll get into that. And during the time that I was in these foster homes, my medication, which a lot of people with mental illness say that medication doesn't help, and I think that it doesn't help some people, but I think a lot of the people that say it doesn't help is because they just haven't gotten the right medications or the right doctors. I know this from experience because I've had the right medication and the right doctors. I've had the wrong doctors. It's just, I've had the whole gist of it. So whenever I was in foster care, I had the same doctor. Okay, and mind you, I went in when I was 15. So I didn't really have a say. Anyway, that all happened, and my doctor pretty much kept me on the same medication that I was on since I was 13, which was fine, but she would either up the dosages, lower the dosages, and then add on more medication. It wasn't like take me off one medication and then try another. It was nothing like that. She literally just added medication, and I ended up getting sick from it. Not like physically sick, like not like I didn't get the lamictal rash or nothing like that. It wasn't like that serious. It wasn't like hospitalized, but I ended up getting sick where loss of appetite, just like the mild symptoms. But I just hated it because like one day I would, like, eating would sicken me, like it was some, like I would smell food and it would literally sicken me like I was pregnant or something, but it wasn't that, and it was a mess, and I was sick just physically all the time. I did not feel well. Excuse me. I did not feel healthy. So I stayed on it, stayed with it, until, and again, I was still going to therapy once a week because that was the DCS thing. But like I said, they didn't do much. It was not like the therapy I needed. It was just, let's go get a milkshake and talk about how your day's been. And it wasn't their fault. The therapist's fault. I had a couple good therapists that actually did talk to me, but I did switch therapists a lot, or counselors, whatever you want to call them. And some of them were really good, some of them were really bad, but also like even the good ones and even the bad one, it was also partially my fault because I did not open up to them, and I wouldn't say that they gave up, but I did not let them counsel me even if they would have. So it's not entirely their fault, just say. Anyway, medication, didn't feel well. Okay. So I stayed with that foster home until I turned 18. Okay? And they were great. They were amazing people. They are still amazing people. They are still my life. They are like a second family to me. I'd call the foster mom and dad, my mom and dad. Like their kids, my brothers and sisters, they are literally like a family to me. It's like I was adopted with no papers, basically. They were great, so this is none of their fault. But when I turned 18, I was sick of it. And part of my mental illness is, like, symptoms, I guess you would say. I make impulse decisions. And I also have a knack for pushing people away that try to help me. That's what I did with my family. And I didn't know this at the time. I did that with my family. And then I did this with my foster family that, forgave me graciously. They love me. They're amazing. So when I turned 18, I stopped taking my medication cold turkey, which, with psych medication, you cannot do. It's like, I don't really know why, but if I had to guess, like, I don't really, like, I have an idea, but, like, I don't know for sure, so, like, don't quote me on it. Sorry, my patch is itching. But, like, if I had to guess, I would think it would be because your, like, chemicals in your brain are balanced, one day, and then the next day you stop at cold turkey, and I think they probably just go haywire. So I did that cold turkey, when I turned 18 because, my foster mom told me that I could take the medicine myself. She trusts me. There was no reason that she shouldn't trust me. I was 18 at this time. Like, you can do your own medication. Stopped at cold turkey. She did not know about this. And on my 18th birthday, which was March 8th, by the end of March, I was fighting with my foster parents. I was going completely nuts. It was a mess. So I ended up leaving their house. I pushed them away because it was like, they're helping me too much. I don't like it. Get away from me. And I pushed them away and ended up leaving. I started a fight with them and made it seem like they were kicking me out when it wasn't. It was a mess, okay? So I ended up leaving, moving in with my best friend. Her adoptive mom is actually a foster mom as well, so it worked out because I was technically, even though I turned 18 and I aged out, I was technically still in foster care because I did the extension of foster care so I could get the insurance and the benefits and the college and all that stuff. So moved in with them, worked out, blah blah. And I was off medication for about a year. During this year, I could arguably say that it was the best year because I have found that when I am not on medication, I try harder. But it was also the worst year in some ways. So in some ways it was the best year because I tried harder and, like, I did a lot of things to distract me, I guess, from my mental illness, which you can't really do that, but, like, I kept myself busy to where, like, I literally could not, like, react. I was so fast-paced. I started working, I graduated high school in May, and, like, when I turned 18, it was March, okay? So, I worked every day after school till, like, midnight. I would close, I would just work my ass off, come home, go to sleep. I was busy 24/7. Plus I was in AP classes, going to school, trying to graduate. It was a mess. So May comes around, I graduate, and then I start working full time. Sometimes I would try and, like, get overtime. That didn't always work out, so I was just always busy. Okay, so July comes around. I meet my now husband. I end up quitting my job at Wendy's because, I don't know, impulse decisions. I shouldn't have quit it. But it was an impulse decision, but also because I was possibly going to school in August. Anyway, tried to go to school in August. Didn't work out. Ended up moving with my then boyfriend and his parents. They helped me a lot. I had a lot of outbursts, anger, arguments, everything. Not to them, obviously, but to him. And it was just a mess. And, but I was still controlling it at this point. Because I was, it was just getting worse because I wasn't busy. I wasn't working. And it just got worse progressively. And for some reason, I thought that I was able to go back to school because it didn't work out the first time, but I really wanted to go to school. It had been my dream ever since I was a little kid. I always wanted to go to college. It was just, I love school. So I ended up working my ass off to figure out a way to go to college. Thought I had everything figured out, so I went to Austin P College in Clarksville. They moved me down there. It was just this big thing in January to start the spring semester. January of next year. And I was there for maybe a month, and I had a panic attack. I had panic attacks before, but it wasn't like full blown, like, hyperventilating, can't breathe. It was like, they were like mini panic attacks, but I somehow calmed myself down. It was just, I didn't really, this was like a full, I don't know, when you say panic attacks, you think the full-blown things, but I believe, I don't know if this is like a scientific fact, but I believe people with anxiety have mini panic attacks, which is like freaking out, you know, starting to escalate, but if they can calm themselves down, then, you know, it's like the calm before the storm type thing. I had those, but I didn't have like the storm. So I ended up having a panic attack a couple weeks, maybe a month after I started there. I was not going to my classes. It was just because it was building. Ended up having a panic attack, hyperventilating, talking to my boyfriend at the time and my now husband, and he was like, I don't know how to help you, like, I can't come get you, like, whatever. So I ended up hanging up the phone and calling my aunt, and I hadn't really talked to them since I had gotten out of foster care. I was ashamed of what I had done, leaving them and hurting them the way I did, and I didn't talk to them. So I ended up having a full-blown panic attack, hyperventilating, like, literally just, it was a mess. And it was new to me. I didn't know I was having a panic attack at the time. Like, I knew I had anxiety, but I didn't know, like, about it, you know? Didn't know anything about my illnesses. I just knew I had them, and blah. So, ended up calling her. She recognized that I was having a panic attack, and this was like 12 o'clock at night, maybe between 10 and midnight. And, she ended up not packing a bag, but getting her shit together, getting dressed and leaving and coming and picking me up. I packed a bag and came. It was just supposed to be for the weekend. I think this was like a Friday night. It was supposed to be for the weekend to like help me. And I ended up telling my family that I was not on medication for an entire year, and they're like, yeah, maybe you should get medication. Are you planning on going back to college? And we worked it out to where I would get back on medication. So, with the same doctor that I had originally. So, I ended up leaving school because I couldn't afford it anyway because of a whole big thing. So, I quit thinking that it would, I wouldn't be charged for the entire semester. Ended up getting charged for the entire semester. Big thing. So I came back in February. So, yeah, it was a month. Came back in February, ended up, panic attack, come back home to Smyrna. And, but my doctor that I had had since I was a kid, or had when I was a kid, I guess, she was booked for like a couple months, so I didn't get in till like March or April, I guess, and got in. She put me on some of the same medication. Which, isn't really her fault. I didn't really speak up. I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. It didn't really work out. I was getting sick again, and it was a mess, okay? So, ended up getting a car, getting a job, couple jobs, and with my mental illness, you could tell it was bad because I was getting jobs, quitting jobs, getting jobs, quitting jobs, making impulse decisions, going crazy. I got credit cards, got in tons of debt because of it, because of I was manic, and it was a crazy mess. So, and of course I was having issues with my boyfriend at the time because of my mental illness, but he stuck with me through it, still is sticking with me through it, which he's amazing. And then ended up, a few months passed, got a car, got a job, blah, blah. December rolls around of that year, and I was having some major issues with not with my boyfriend necessarily, just like with everything. I was getting increasingly worse. So, I had just recently got this job at a hotel, and I was excited about it. It was great. Like, it was going to be an easy job. I really liked it. It was like, I felt like I was Lorelai on Gilmore Girls. It was great. But for some reason, I don't know. It was just, let me just get into it. I've never talked about it. I've told people what happened, but like not in depth. So this is kind of crazy. I know this is 45 minutes long already, but if you stuck through it now, just thank you. I hope this is helping somebody. But anyway, so I got in my car. My family was actually, it was December, so we have wrapping parties, like, because at my mom's house is like where we keep all the family presents and everything, and like the kids' presents and everything. So we have wrapping parties to like do all that, plan, spend some family time together, and I think we were having a wrapping party. And it's kind of crazy, because we had missed a few. Like, we had missed a bunch, actually, and for some reason everybody came to this one. So, my sister, well, everybody that did the wrapping party, my sister, my aunt, my mom, and me were there. Anyway, fast forward. I get up in the morning, I'm like, I gotta go to work, I really don't want to, but because I wanted to spend time with them. Like, I was excited to go to work. I ended up going to work. And I go to work on my way, and it's literally 5 minutes from my house. You literally get on the interstate, and it's like, I think the next exit off. It's like one exit down. So I'm driving, and I was just really upset, and for some reason, thought popped in my head to drive into the barrier. The rock barrier. Because I've driven that way many of times. I've rode that way many times. I knew there was a rock barrier there. And I was like, this is how it's gonna end. And I had thought about suicide, but I never like thoroughly did it. Like, I always like talked myself out of it but I was driving the car, and for a split second the thought crossed my mind, and I just jerked my wheel and ran into the the rock barrier, flipped over, and I got in a wreck. The car was very, very badly done. Honestly, if I was in a newer car, I was in a 1995 Buick, and if I was in a newer car, I would have been dead. It was literally a miracle that even though it was a full metal car and everything, in an older car, it was a miracle that it was alive. I literally came out with a couple cuts, and that was just from me getting out, and the glass everywhere. It was a miracle. So I ended up getting out of the car. It was very traumatic, and I'm going to go into details about this. Yeah. I've never really gone into details about this, but wreck happened, went into the barrier, flipped over. There happened to be a cop that was on her way to work that was behind me. There was a bunch of people who saw. There was this kind lady named, not gonna say her name actually, and a soldier. Like, a lot of people stopped. It was a miracle. And they were beating on the back window, trying to break it in, but I think my driver window the passenger and the driver windows were rolled down. And because I smoke, I don't know why they were rolled down, or they were broken in. I think they were rolled down. I honestly can't remember. But anyway, I unbuckled my seatbelt. I tried to turn off the ignition. This is all happening. Like, this all happened within like 5 minutes, honestly. And tried to turn off the ignition, and I couldn't. I was freaking out. Like, I was in shock. Like, I was freaking the fuck out, because, like, honestly, my life flashed before my eyes. Like, when they say that happens, it's true. It's true. So I'm literally thinking that I'm in hell or something. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm freaking out because I'm thinking the car's gonna blow up because the car is smoking. I'm thinking it's gonna blow up because of the smoke, and because behind me there's somebody beating on the back window to try and break it in, to get me out, and I thought it was the car going to blow up. I was freaking out. I was actually taking a desk to work that day to give, like, a children's desk, and so the parts were everywhere. We had taken it apart and everything. It was a plastic little Tykes desk, and the pieces were everywhere. And I looked over and I saw that the passenger window was broken in, whatever, down, whatever. It was clear. I could get out. So I ended up pushing out the pieces that were in my way, and I started crawling out, which it was a tiny hole. Like, literally, I wish I had something to compare it to. I don't know how my big body fit through it. Ended up like trying to crawl out. Couldn't like quite get out. I was hurting really bad from the seatbelt and the airbag, and sorry, and these two guys saw me, a soldier and another guy ended up seeing me, and they pulled me out, and they pulled me out, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Whatever." This girl, we'll call her Tina Faye. No, I'm just kidding. Tina, she asked me if I was okay. Like, she's like, blah blah blah, and I said, "Please call my mom." And obviously at this point, like, even I knew that like my head was okay. I didn't have a concussion because I was very lucid. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not a medical expert, but I thought that I was okay because I remembered my mom's number. My immediate reaction was to call my mom. She called her, and that happened. So, and I just want my mom at this point. Like, I don't care about going to the hospital, nothing. A cop comes up, and I'm sitting against the car. Like, they had pulled me out, and I was sitting up, leaning against the car, and it had flipped over, and yeah, anyway. So, the cop comes up, the cop that was behind me, and she was really rude to me, and she was like, and which is understandable, like, you know, I'm not even gonna, like, I am okay with cops. She just happened to be really rude to me in this situation. She was like, "What the fuck were you thinking?" Like, she was cussing at me, but I don't think she said fuck, but she was like, kind of being hard on me, and she was like, "What happened?" And I was like, the first thing that popped in my mind was my steering wheel locked up, and so I told her that, and she's like, "Has this happened before?" And I was like, "Yeah," and it really did. Like, my steering wheel has locked up before, but it ended up coming right back. And she was like, "Well, if this was a problem, you could have got me killed, blah, blah, blah." She didn't, like, say anything about getting anybody else killed. She's like, "You could have got me killed," and all that shit, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I just started hyperventilating. I was in shock. I was having a panic attack. The girl was telling me to calm down. Tina, she was really, really great. I don't really care who sees my videos, but I really hope she sees this because she helped me so much, because if she wasn't there, I would have had a full-blown panic attack, and it would have just been terrible. She calmed me down, or tried to at least, and the cop was still going off on me, saying I could have got her killed, and she ended up calling it in, blah, blah. People were calling 911, and there was a lot of people there. It was just, anyway. So the soldier and 3 other guys were there, and the soldier was, like, telling them to one on each arm, and then 2 on my legs, 1 on each leg, to carry me away from the car because the car was smoking and it was still on, and they were scared like it was gonna blow up or something, so they carried me away. And at this point, they're like, "Are you hurting?" I'm like, "My chest hurts really bad," and they were great. They the soldier, I don't know if they teach you this, like, in basic or something, maybe he was a nurse or something, or a doctor in the army, but anyway, he did me once over. He, like, you know, tried to bend my legs, see if anything was broken, you know, he kind of gave me a workup, I guess you could say. It was really nice, and then the ambulance came because the hospital's literally on the exit, the same exit that I'm getting off, like, that I would get off of to go to work, and literally this was right before the exit, so they ended up getting there quick, and they were like, "Can you walk?" I was like, "Yes, my chest hurts really bad." They're like, "Okay, whatever." So I walked to the thing. Woman cop still going the hell off, like, oh my gosh. And, like, I can't really blame her because, like, I can't blame her, but, like, it was still, like, in that situation, I was like, fuck you. But anyway, ended up going in to the ambulance, and I was in shock, but, like, at that point, seeing my life flash before my eyes, and, you know, all that, and attempting suicide and everything, I just was so thankful that I was okay. And, they were just, like, So I was like laughing. I was also in shock, so maybe that's part of it, but I was also relieved. I was scared, but I was relieved, and it was just all these emotions, plus I was in shock. It was just crazy. So they were talking to me, and I was like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, I can't believe that I'm fine. And they're like, and I was cracking jokes, and I was laughing, and they were like, don't get too excited. And I'm like, no, I'm just laughing. I'm not having a panic attack. But it sounded like I was crying because my chest was hurting so bad. Anyway, so, they were really nice to me, blah, blah. And, at this point, like I said, I knew my mom's information, like I knew all this stuff, so I knew I was like good to go, I guess. I just felt at peace that I was okay. And she like asked me all these questions, and she's like, well, your head's obviously fine because you can remember all these things, and told me her social security number, my insurance, like literally the whole thing, everything she needed to know, like, and she was like, oh, thanks. So got to the hospital. I was in a neck brace, all that, and got to the hospital. My family got there. They were whatever, and I told them my steering wheel locked up. I thought they knew that, or that they believed that. I'm sorry. Cop came in, was like, oh, it's fine, you're cool, blah, blah. And this whole time I felt so guilty because I was lying to them, and, like, I literally could have hurt somebody. I was relieved that I was okay, but, like, I was also, like, so disappointed in myself because I seriously could have hurt somebody. And, sorry, that scared me. And, anyway, and I ended up getting muscle relaxers and like some pain medicine, and I was fine. So, my family, at the time I thought they were just making sure that I didn't have any hidden injuries or whatever, but my aunt ended up staying at my house for like a week or two, seeing if I was okay, and I thought, well, it's just hidden injuries. And finally I don't remember who I told first. I think it was my mom, and I was like, I just have to tell you something. That whole thing, my steering wheel did not lock up. I actually tried to commit suicide. And they're like, yeah, we know. Why do you think we stayed for a while? They ended up talking me into going to a mental hospital. And I ended up going to a mental hospital voluntarily. Then I got there and I was like, I don't belong here. And they switched me to involuntary. And I got some therapy, but like, not even therapy, actually. It was group therapy. It was not like one-on-one, which one-on-one is better. And mental hospitals can really help, but this one it would have helped me if I actually like did what I was supposed to, but literally I was trying to get out of there, so I would listen to them, I would engage, I got their number pretty quick, so I just did everything I could to get out of there. And this was all in December of last year, 2017. And I ended up getting out of there within like a week or two, or maybe a week and a half. And they put me on some new medication, blah, blah. Ended up getting out of there. And then continued with the medication, got married a couple weeks later, and then March 2018 rolls around, and I end up moving in with my husband in Texas. I moved to Texas, pick up all my shit, move, and I stopped taking my medication. I had a lot of outbursts where I was throwing things and I was hitting walls, and it was just very violent. Not like I didn't hurt anybody, but like that happened. And yeah, that happened. And I still am not taking medication. I ended up leaving my husband, not leaving my husband, but leaving Texas, and my husband in Texas. We're okay. We're good. But, and moved back down here to maybe try and get some medication and some therapy, but I'm just not ready for that yet, and that is that's pretty much my story up until now. This is an hour long, okay? I have a feeling a lot of people are not going to watch this through, but I hope people do, at least somebody, and I hope this helps somebody, because yeah, that's the gist. That's my story. What can you get from that? Maybe I should have started this off by saying that to get through. Yeah, anyway, my point is, with all of that, I have gained some wisdom. of what to do and what not to do. And for one, a lot of people think that people who attempt suicide, people who commit suicide are stupid. I want to tell you right now that you're not. You're not stupid. I don't think stupid is the correct word. I do think that you're not being smart about the situation in the sense that, I don't know, I've been there, so it's kind of hard to explain, but, like, it's not worth it. It's not, because, like, you see all these memes out there where they're like, or not memes, but, like, posts where people are like, yeah, when you commit suicide, you're just transferring your pain onto somebody else, which, yeah, true. Yeah, okay, but when you're really thinking about suicide, you don't think about other people. I'm sorry. That sounds shitty, but it's the truth. You don't really think about that. Even if you see that post, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about getting out. And honestly, there's this quote that I really like that it's something about it'll all be better in the end, and if it's not better, then it's not the end. And that's so true, because even though, like, I haven't gone to school and become a doctor and become a millionaire, you know, nothing crazy in my life has happened since the suicide attempt. I can say that my life is getting better, and I have a lot more opportunities. I appreciate life more, and I'm not saying don't try this at home, like, don't attempt suicide so you can get this epiphany. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, like, it's not worth it, because, like, whenever you attempt suicide or you are successful with suicide, you lose so many opportunities. Yeah, it's shitty right now, but it will get better. And I know that's so cliche, but it will. It will get better. And no, a lot of people don't believe that, but it will. You'll have a lot more opportunities. You'll learn a lot from being in that place. You can spread your testimony. You can help other people that have been in that situation. And I know that it might not get better. Like, for me, it kind of happened pretty quickly. Like, it's July now, so it's been 6-7 months since my suicide attempt, and my life is better. No, I mean, so yeah, it's kind of quick for me. Some people may take years, but it's worth it in the end. I promise you. Your life is not going to be shitty forever. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, you've made it this far. You can make it through whatever you're going through. It's just, there's so many good things that can come out of that. Even if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in Buddha, if you don't believe in, if you're atheist, like, whatever religion you are, whatever you believe in, believe this, that everything happens for a reason. And, maybe going through that reason can help you in the future, help other people, whether it be you going to conferences and helping people, you going on YouTube and talking about it and reaching a lot of people and it going viral, or whatever it may be. It could be something as big as that, or it could be something as simple as you have a kid, or and they go through the same thing and you help them, or you see a kid on the street and you give them a piece of advice, because you don't really realize how much your words affect people. And this is kind of like a lot of, like, advice in one, but, like, you may not even realize you're helping somebody's life, is I guess what I'm saying, because you may not, like, go out and have the intention of helping somebody, but since you've been through that, and when it does get better, or maybe when it doesn't even get better, before it gets better, you can give somebody a piece of advice that you see on the street, a stranger, and you could save their life. I've actually had people come to me recently that have told me that I have helped them so much. And it just, and I've had people tell me that in the past, and I didn't mean to. I literally just talk about something, and they're like, you helped me so much, you saved my life, just things like that, and I'm just like, really? Like, I did not mean to, I was just talking. It can help so many people, and you'll become stronger because of what you're going through. And it gets better. And just use this time to make yourself better, to improve, to become Jeffree Star or Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres or Samuel L. Jackson, whoever you want to be. Some guy in accounting, whatever you want to be. Use that experience. It's not going to get better right away. And like, honestly, and it's a process. It is a process. And like, I did not plan any of this out. This is just like coming out of my brain right now. So I'm sorry if it's a jumble of words, but I'm trying to make it make sense. But it's been 7 months, which is kind of a short time, but kind of a long time. To me, it's a long time, but really, in reality, it's a short time. There's so many people that are, that have had a suicide attempt, and then it doesn't get better for years. Mine's gotten better. It hasn't turned around completely. For example, I'm getting a divorce. I'm staying with my husband, but I'm getting a divorce because of just things that are going on, things that we cannot help. And so that's shitty. I'm living with my mom, and she might, she's having issues, and that's shitty. But I am better in so many senses. I have a roof over my head. I don't have to worry about my next meal. I'm taken care of. I have loving people around me. I have animals that love me, that I love, that help me. There's so many good things to look at. And a lot of people say, well, when you're depressed, there's always good. There is always good to look at, but when you're depressed, you don't think of those things. But as things start to get better or whatever, or, if you even have, because I don't know, this is all just like I said, I didn't plan this, but if you're having a bad day, yeah, try and look at the good, and I know that's cliche, and I know that's very hard because I've been there. I know how hard that is, but, and you don't even have to actively look for it. You really don't. Just, I know for me, I didn't actively look for something good because I was there's nothing good that can come out of this. There isn't. Even though obviously there is. I was there's nothing good that can happen in my life ever. I've been there. But, looking back now, there's so much good. Watching Jeffree Star be his wild, eccentric self really amazed me, and it changed me, and it made me happy. There's so many good moments. So just, my advice to you isn't necessarily look for the good, nothing like that. My advice to you is, if you're going through that, is to just get out of bed in the morning. Don't sit in bed all day. Don't do things that don't make you happy, because I'm sure there's something that makes you happy. Don't just sit at home and do nothing and sleep and just, whatever. Watch YouTube videos, watch TV, watch Netflix, watch Hulu, whatever. Do a hobby that you enjoy. Just do the little things that make you happy. Because, yeah, at this point, I'm sure you're nothing good can come out of this. And I understand that. I understand that nothing looks good. Nothing looks happy. Nothing can seem happy. But it's always a step to do something that makes you happy. Something that you enjoy, and you're well, I don't enjoy anything. Well, maybe not at the moment. I've been there where emo music let's say right now I'm in a place where emo music always made me happy, and on Pinterest always made me happy, but right now nothing seems that doesn't seem like it would be happy. Well, get on Pinterest anyway, listen to emo music anyway, listen to country music anyway, whatever it is, knit anyway, force yourself to do it, because yeah, it may not be happy in that moment, but if you continue to do that thing that once made you happy, I'm sure you'll find joy in it again. Find new things that would make you happy. Just try to be happy. And you're well, I am. Well, I've been there, and sometimes you are, and sometimes you're not. Let's be honest, because, there's times when you've given up, and there's times when you've not. Even if you've given up, just don't give up, actually. Even if you've given up, reignite that. Stop giving up. I don't know, stop giving up. Like, reverse it, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, because, like, I've given up before, but then I got back into it, and here I am today. I'm not a millionaire. I don't own a Tesla. I don't have things that some people would be like, oh, your life turned around. I'm not a doctor. I don't have kids. I don't have a miracle. But I'm still happy. I mean, I'm not, like, happy all the time, obviously. But I'm so much happier. And it's just, I mean, the reason that I am here today from the suicide attempt, obviously, because I survived that. But really, it's because even when I've given up, I subconsciously, I guess, I don't know, ended up watching Jeffree Star videos, even though they used to make me happy, and then at that time they didn't. I did it anyway, and, like, the more I did it, even just to pass the time, it ended up making me happier and happier and happier. And now I'm just at a place where, like, tonight, I mean, I'm at a place today that I was not yet at yesterday. I was at a shitty place yesterday, but, like, today I'm better, and I'm sure tomorrow will be better. Like, every day has gotten better. Increasingly. It may not be a noticeable difference, a week from that, let's say even a month from my suicide attempt. It didn't seem like it was getting better, but 7 months later, looking back, it has gotten so much better. I'm so much happier. I wouldn't even think about doing that again. It's so much better, and I feel like I'm just rambling, and I know it's an hour and 10 minutes. Jesus Christ, and I'm not even going to edit this. Oh, God. Anyway, it does get better, and it's cliche, but it does. So, help yourself in that way. Or, if you're at a place where you feel comfortable, go try and get medication if you have mental illness. Even depression. I know people don't like labeling it as mental illness, but it is. Depression, even though you may not have clinical depression, depression is still something that can be treated with medication. It can be treated with a lot of things, therapy, whatever. Find that so you can be happy again. Even if you think you don't deserve it, because you do. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. You deserve to be happy. You deserve that. I'm just saying. And I'm sure there are, even if it seems like people out there that don't love you, nobody loves you, nobody cares about you, they do. Trust me, you may not even have met them yet. I know a lot of people say that there's always somebody that cares about you. Yeah, there is. There's always somebody that cares about you, but maybe not in the way that you want. So maybe go look for those people. Go meet new people. There's just so many ways that you can do it. And maybe I'll make a whole another video of things that you can do. But, like, just try. Don't give up. And if you have given up, try again. But the main things that, from my experience, that can help are not giving up. And if you have given up, try again. Doing things that make you happy, even if in that moment it doesn't make you happy, just keep doing them. Just keep doing them. Because if they made you happy before, and it's not something that just fell off because you didn't like it anymore, it was just something that, because you had depression or whatever, that's why it didn't make you happy anymore, just do it again. Watch YouTube videos, whatever it is. Do it again, and keep doing it until it does make you happy again. Until you are happy again. Try and seek treatment professionally. I'm going to tell you, there's going to be some bad apples out there, okay? There are. There are going to be some shitty-ass doctors out there that just do it for a paycheck and just going to prescribe you whatever you want. And I advise whenever you go speak, if you do go seek professional treatment, like if it's a psychiatrist, for example, don't just settle on one person. If you just go around and, find the one that gets you, that you get, that, like, you click with, and figure it out. Same with therapists. Therapists help. Therapy doesn't help everybody. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know some people truly believe in therapy and truly believe in medicine and all that, but not everything helps everybody. But for me, therapy helps because I like talking. Because, if, let's make light of the situation by saying, they're paid to listen to you. And I know some people are like, well, then, that's even worse because, I understand that. But they're paid to listen to you, and they're paid to help you, I mean, if anything, maybe even if they don't help you, they don't give you good advice, at least they're listening. At least you can get it off your chest, not keep burying it inside. There's a positive. So medication therapy, If you've given up, try again. Just, those are my 3 main things. Just like, there's so many things out there. And like, maybe there's things out there that I haven't even mentioned. Do your research. Act like it's a research project from school. It'll get better, you know? And you can't listen to one person, and you can't just listen to me and think, oh, well, medication's gonna help, and then try medication, doesn't help, and then you give up. Don't do that. Just keep trying until you find something. So this hour, this video is 1 hour and 14 minutes long. I'm so surprised it hasn't cut off yet, but it hasn't. So before it does, I'm gonna get off here. I'm sorry that this was kind of a long video, but I feel like I should tell my story, and I know it's all over the place, but that's me, and I'm unapologetic for it, for that. I mean, I'm sorry if it, like, you know, it was, you didn't get through it, and it was terrible. I'm sorry for that, but I hope it helps somebody. I hope it helped you, and feel free, like, even if I become rich and famous and Jeffree Star or Bill Gates or whoever, feel free to message me, feel free to comment, because no matter how big I get, I will promise you now, if I ever get big, I'm not saying that I am ever gonna get big, but if I do ever get big, I will always try my best to help people and give them advice. So feel free to comment, feel free to tell me your stories if you feel comfortable with it, because I've been there. I've gone through a lot of shit in my life. I mean, I'm sure there's people that have gone through worse, but I'm open ears, you know? Even if you just want to talk and vent about shitty things in your life, it's fine. I'm here. Okay? I love you guys. I hope this helps somebody. Share this, you know, whatever. Just, like, get the word out there. Because I really want it to help somebody. I know this is all over the place, but, you know, if you're coming from where I've come from, I'm sure it'll help somebody. I'm sure, well, maybe not help somebody, but I'm sure the person will understand. So, I love you guys. I hope this helped in any way possible. And, I'll see you guys next week, or in a couple days, or whenever. I'll see you guys again soon. Just don't give up. Don't give up, and if you've given up, try again. Love you all.